So, Chris, how has your experience with been with the Iris testnet?
I'd say it's been pretty favorable. The team, the team communicates really well. I find very clearly, um, and they lay out the stages in a pretty structured manner, which is helpful. Yeah, and it turned out to be pretty generous with the rewards too for
Mm-hmm.
for the first test net. I jumped in pretty late, probably like a little more than half of the way in. But it seemed to accomplish the purpose of getting people engaged, getting people to test very specific things on the network, and then rewarding people to the point where they could become validators when the network went live.
Mm-hmm.
And then they communicated clearly along the way. So I think from those perspectives, they were pretty successful. And now they're doing a second test net, incentivized test net. And yeah, and just from a validator perspective, when it feels nice to be able to, receive something back when we're, asked to upgrade a network or, take some time out to do this or that, particularly if it's on short notice. So it feels like a nice balance of give and take from both sides.
Cool. That's great. Well, I think I've shared this several times in the channel, but we're sort of modeling our incentivized test net on irises generally, with a point system and kind of clear, sort of like a clear list of things that you can do to earn points, and then those points translate over into tokens, sort of at each successive test net. So it's nice to hear that worked well for you. Yeah. So I think I'd love to, I'm happy to share a little bit about just the more details about what we're thinking. But in general, we're just sort of cloning Iris, and then, of course, the different details is just around what it is we're testing on any given test net, really. But if there's things that, you think like patterns that you saw could have gone a little bit better, we're really happy to take that into consideration and think about that.
Yeah, just on that, announcing things clearly in that single channel and just being very consistent with that is one. Because they weren't as successful at using a single channel of communication as I think they were trying to be. So again, just coming back to that really simple idea of using that single announcements channel to communicate anything, whether it's, hey, it's time for another, step in the test net or whatever the case may be. I would do that, and then point everything back to a single repo on GitHub that's tracking the testnet's progress. So you don't have to, click around to multiple repos. So I think communicating everything clearly through that one channel, and then having like a single landing page, if you will, for the testnet and the updates that could then link out to the task itself or link out to another version of the software, whatever the case may be. But I think in terms of communication flow, if you could be, one area of improvement could be, being very consistent with that and resisting the urge just to drop it like in some random chat somewhere saying, oh, we're ready to go tomorrow, that kind of thing.
Yes, I think we have this one test in this repository. It does need to be updated a bit because there have been some people trying to set up nodes. Now that it's after Genesis, and the instructions that are there are still around creating a GenCX. So yeah, we do need to do a bit more like updating of that. But I think so far we've just been using this Telegram channel, and then there's the announcement channel. I think we need to link those two together now, which maybe we can do after the call. So cool. I think if it's just this, it seems like the setup we have with the the one testnet repo and the one Telegram channel would basically satisfy that. Part of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and just making sure we're on top of updates. And then I guess we want to have in the testnets repository, we want to publish what the points system that we're coming up with is for incentivization, the whole process. That's sort of a to-do on our end.
Mm-hmm. Have you come across the initial Iris testnet repo where they had the tables laid out and everything?
Yeah, that's what we've been.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'd say that's the best model I've seen out there for an incentivized testnet right now.
Cool.
Cool. So I mean, just in terms of what specifically we've thought through so far for the incentivization, I guess what I'm thinking right now is that we just convert this current testnet into an incentivized testnet. We have this upgrade functionality that we're intending to test. So if this upgrade functionality works well, we might be able to just stick with this same testnet and just keep adding new kind of little things to do. So I'm thinking there would be points just for running a validator. For people that joined at Genesis that have been with us all along, I think that there's sort of a separate category we're thinking of just kind of more like, I guess, advisory tokens or something along those lines. Outside of like a specific point system, we're definitely considering that.
I think we should just use the point system.
Use the point system. So we'll just retroactively put points for people that joined the Genesis and give them points for that.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest thing to do.
And then the next, okay, so we can do that. Then the next thing will be, spinning up a validator after Genesis. Voting on the upgrade proposal, implementing the upgrade, then testing the new functionality. So that the new functionality I want to test this time is around delegated fees. So I posted the pull request I'm working on. Like I said in Telegram, I was hoping to have that ready for today, for us to just be able to put up a governance transaction, vote on it this week. Unfortunately, I've just had so much to do since getting back from Berlin that it's just been a little too much for me to do that. Plus, merging in everything with the latest Cosmos. So, I'm going to push that back a few days. At the same time, like I said in Telegram, there's also some other people that have been getting in touch with me around setting up validator nodes that have been running into some issues. So I think I just want to make sure that everybody that wants to make a validator gets a bit of time to do that this week. And then next week's sort of doing that governance proposal. And so then there will be points for each of those for the voting on the upgrade, doing the upgrade, testing the functionality, and maybe there might be several different breakdowns of things. We welcome any suggestions if that people have. You can just put something in Telegram. We're definitely open to feedback.
So, does anybody know who the Appeal to Heaven validator is in our testnet group here? They appear to be jailed. And Chris, I was thinking we could work a little bit it looks like you still don't have enough voting power.
Yeah, no, I haven't been able to try and get unjailed since we last spoke. So yeah, if we wanted to spend some time going through that, and then I'd be glad to document the process somewhere.
Okay.
For other people to use.
That would be great, and I'd also like to maybe document for some people that are joining the validator set after Genesis. Like for instance, I see Rick join the call, and I know you were trying to set up a validator. Just documenting what are the commands that need to happen after Genesis. I think that would be really useful to do those two things kind of today. And maybe we can, otherwise make it a short call. Maybe we can wrap that up by 2:30. And if
and if people want to stick around and just chat after that, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then anything. I see Darren and Rick on from Vulcanized. Luigi, hi. If if any of you guys have, and then maybe it's worth Daniel and Will and Ron just saying hello and introducing yourselves really quick. We've got some of the Regen team members just kind of like listening in, I think, to learn what's going on here with the community. So.
Sure. How's it going, everybody? I'm Daniel. I'm an engineer and designer on the Regen Development Team, and hope everyone's doing good.
Cool.
Hello, I'm Will. I am also part of the Regen team. I've been focused on some of the economics, and so I'm trying to come up to speed on this incentivized testnet conversation.
Hey everyone, I'm Ron. I'm focused on partnerships, pilots, product work here at Regen. Excited to see everyone on the call.
Cool, thanks guys. Rick and Darren, do you guys want to say hello? And do you guys have anything in particular that would be valuable to use this call for in terms of getting up and running with your Regen node?
I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, I think since you've asked, I mean, for me, it's more an issue of we're staking after the genesis. So it's just like there's a lot of subtle inconsistency in the documentation. And I think that's probably been supported with people chatting in the channel. You know, it's just like the small sort of changes that happen just as you're updating something. You know, it's not like end of the world kind of issues, but the documentation, I think, strictly speaking, isn't up to date. And so I don't, the way that our team is organized, we can't just like bring people into the channel and have them ask questions. It's not really how my company is organized. So if we could just get clear documentation, I mean, I think that would go that would solve the problem completely.
Yeah, so there is, Cosmos does have their validator documentation, which, explains TX. I mean, maybe I should link to this directly from our testnet repository, but there is the documentation how to run a validator for the Cosmos Hub. There's the validator FAQ there.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. If you just link to that documentation, that would probably solve the problem, right? Because I have to shuttle this information to someone else who doesn't really know anything about blockchains from a practical perspective.
Yeah, so it's just like playing telephone. Reduce the game of telephone.
Yeah, and I think it's just a question, like I'm not trying to be critical of the documentation. I'm just saying that given the way that my company is organized, it was insufficient for us to, I mean, like we got it, I mean, it's running. And we were able to follow that documentation, but it wasn't like how do I install Postgres, right? Or how do I set up this? I mean, there's even more complicated things that are, have documentation, so it's just a slight, yeah, if you could literally just link to the Cosmos documentation in there and say, we're doing almost exactly the same steps, you may need to change the names of some things, that would go a super long way.
Okay, so you said you have a node running, but I don't see you in the list of validators.
No, because we haven't, I mean, again, out of the issues of life, we haven't actually staked yet.
Okay.
So the validator is running, but it's not, it's just a full node. It's not staked.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think it would be useful just to see if, if looking, I guess I was sort of under the impression that most people that were joining the calls were running existing validators, so knew that part of the process. But yeah, I mean, I should make sure, you guys haven't done that before. I'll make sure we link to the appropriate Cosmos documentation. I know there's been a fair amount of flux in their documentation just in general.
As well. Yeah.
As well, so I think that also creates a bit of confusion. But
well, you could just, I mean, not to be too prescriptive here, but you could just sort of link to a static snapshot of the documentation that correlates to your release version.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see if I can find that. I mean, it might be markdown files on their GitHub. So maybe that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, it'll make it simple. Cool. Well, so we've got a couple things to do on our side. I'm also thinking, you know, we're thinking in addition to like sort of weaving back to the incentivized testnet, we're thinking in addition to some of the actions on chain that it's also a good idea to provide incentive for people who do things like go in and clean up documentation, like the Cypher Core guys created that great README and other things. That, because some of this may be able, like Chris, you're working on other networks. Maybe you've already done documentation that, with some minor additions is useful or know where to pull from. So I also think it's kind of a cool idea to, to sort of spread that out a little bit and provide healthy incentive for people to get in and clean things up and sort of, make sure everything works really well and is cleanly documented.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, yeah, I'd be happy to jump into something like that because, I mean, as Rick described, I mean, that's the documentation thing has been consistent with every network that I've interacted with, over the past year and a half. The documentation is, in different states of development, but they're usually small tweaks or nuances that only come from either using the command line help or asking other people. So yeah, I think if you guys could if you can get your arms around that now and establish like a very simple yet functional base, it'll be a lot easier to start now than to try and catch up later because no one ever catches up later, it seems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that would help me put some attention here, if that was part of the incentive program.
Cool. Well, happy to make that part of the incentive program and sort of think through how to do that well. I think that what I've seen is that can be really healthy because that's the, like you're the one who's going to notice if there's an inconsistency and if there's a clear sort of mechanism both to correct that inconsistency and to, to earn for doing so. It just makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
like I just sent in the chat, I just sent what I think is the create validator command that you might need to do after Genesis, Rick, or it's some iteration of that command. But yeah, it's like I don't know if you figured it out with other people, it would be really hard to infer.
Cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll link now to this documentation for Cosmos Hub, but I'll do what you said, Rick, and link to that documentation, but also specify what are the key things that need to change in terms of the name of the command line, the name of the token.
Darren, you were just asking a question?
Oh, I was asking which chat we were talking about. Telegram.
Telegram, yeah.
The Regen Network VIP.
Are you in that, Darren?
VIP? I don't think so. I guess I'm not a VIP.
We only, in general, we just invite people when they ask. I haven't wanted to just like, drop people into it. So I just added you. Sorry.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. So that command I sent is wrong because of the command line. So yeah. So this is one example of how that could be helpful. Yeah.
So should we take a quick look at your on jail issue, Chris? Because I wonder if anybody else on the call, provide any support, like maybe Luigi or.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if people were up for it.
Yeah, let's see if we can figure it out.
Yeah, because okay, so yeah, so I just ran the command again. So the command I ran is hold on. So this is the command I ran. I'm typing it into the Telegram chat.
Which is exactly what it says in the Cosmos Hub documentation.
Yeah, so this is why I got confused. So I'll show you what the output of the transaction is. And then I don't know if there's any way for us to actually look at the transaction. I guess that would be my first question.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, if you get the transaction hash, then you do like if you pass the response, then you should see it should show what the transaction is.
So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like now.
I don't know, I just hit the my accent.
All right, so here's the output, and it has a transaction hash.
Yeah, so then what you can do is
Share your screen.
I'll just paste this.
And like normally, I would go to one of the block explorers and look at that transaction, and it would either not show up, which wouldn't be too helpful, or if it did show up, it might show me like I'm out of gas or like I don't have enough money for gas or something like that. Ah, okay, there we go.
And it says validator not jailed cannot be unjailed is the error.
So you're not in jail, but you don't have.
And my voting power is 0 too, though.
Yeah. Which is weird because then it says, at least in the Looney Explorer, it says that you have 16.5% of the voting power. So it's weird.
Yeah, this is where, yeah, I think people that know more than I do could help. Like maybe, you know, Gary picked pinged Joe from Chorus One. Luigi, I don't know if you have any ideas or maybe he dropped off the call.
How are these state transitions published on chain? Like, how do you know what the state of a given validator is? Is that through messages that are emitted to the chain?
Well, I mean, you could query. You can query. Like right now, we have the user interface for Looney, which is also, it's linked from our testnets repo, but I can post it again here.
Yeah, I've seen that. So that, you're right. So my question is, when you change the state of the validators, right? When this validator is slashed, is that state change in a block? Can I search for the blocks and find that state change?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, yes, you could probably find which block that happened in. It may be that it's tagged in a block. So what we'd have to do is look at I mean, I could pull up the code and just try to figure out what tag that is, but it's not something that I know off the top of my head, and I don't know if anybody here knows.
I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I think we're obviously the UX is obviously in an inconsistent state, right? If his stake is 0 and he says he has 16% of the stake, well, that was what he had probably at Genesis, right? So the fact that there's some bug in the UI, I mean, I would kind of ignore that, and I would just try to reconstruct, figure out by looking at the actual blocks, figure out what the state is at.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's where, like, there's other people that are, in our channel that are experienced validators that might know the answer to that. For instance, Joe, who's been on the calls in the past.
Yeah, I can try and corral somebody's attention.
Because
Let me ask what so this is in the Genesis file, downtime jail duration. What does that, is it, I know in Iris it was 10 minutes. What does that translate to in minutes?
I think it's nanoseconds. Let me see. Yeah, I think all the duration times are in. So let's see. That would be 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, so it's not that.
Yeah, like, so this is, even though this is the Regen Network testnet, we are using a pretty recent version of the Cosmos SDK software that all this stuff is happening on. So, if there's an issue, if there's a bug, it should go back, like, it should get, it would be useful for people in the larger Cosmos community to know and to help out and to, fix the UX problem, because this issue is gonna, like, I think the code that we're running is a little bit ahead of where the Cosmos hub is. Like, I think we have a little bit,
we have some things that are likely to get pushed to the Cosmos hub.
Whatever we have has already been pushed to the Cosmos hub or is going to get pushed to the Cosmos hub. So if there's an issue, they should know about it. And we're doing testing for them too. So I think that, bringing this up in Cosmos Network VIP is totally, fair game. Or in our channel specifically, there's
a lot of the same people.
There's other validators. There's Chorus One is in our channel, but there's also in our VIP channel we have like Saki, and I think Jack is in our channel.
Sunny's there, Zach's there, Jack's there.
So all the core, like a lot of the core Cosmos guys are like in our channel. So like I think it's fair to just say, hey, like, King Jack or something. Yeah.
I'll put together a short document with all the details and then try and start passing it around. And I know Alex from Cosmos pretty well too. So let me try and pass it around.
And if you want, I mean, I can just directly get in touch with Jack, who's
that would be helpful too.
I can just ping him now and just say, hey, like, we're having a problem on our testnet, and who do we get in touch with? There's either a UX issue or some bug that we're hitting, and we need to figure out what's happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Also, want to Rick bring his validator online too, if that's how we want to move forward on this. If Rick, you're prepared to do that.
I mean, I'll reiterate what I would like to do. I mean, for me, the goal is to generate documentation, and if the documentation already exists, then it's fine. But for me, the purpose of all this is to document the process so that the magic hand technicians can actually engage in the process.
Yeah. Well, so on our end, for I have it to do. I know which documentation to link to. I can ping you directly once I have that documentation set up, like linked in our testnets repository. And then in terms of like Chris's jailing issue, yeah, I think it needs to get escalated to, probably Cosmos VIP.
Probably our channel first, and then if it doesn't,
okay.
If people don't respond, then it can get pinged into Cosmos VIP. But I don't think it makes sense. All of the right people are in our channel to have that conversation.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me do that. Yeah, let me do that. And
then, so, in the broader sense, we'll be sort of finalizing and publishing via our channel the incentivized testnet structure this week, and Aaron also will be finalizing the PR that's going to be that we're going to we're going to go through the upgrade process with, so that's available. And I would guess we'll get a lot of people have been sort of like, yeah, we're going to join the testnet and haven't quite. And I would guess as soon as those things sort of solidified, they'll be kind of like that. It's like the deadline sort of syndrome. So people will probably jump on, and it's going to be it's probably going to get to be a busy end of the week and busy beginning of next week, I would guess. So, yeah. So I guess enjoy the calm before the storm.
Yeah. Can you guys, what's the Looney address again?
I'll put it in the.
So I can have that for the documentation here.
Oh, we've got multiple. Okay.
Okay, so I guess if you can write up something more, Chris, that would be useful. I'm just going to take a screen capture of what I'm seeing now in Looney.
Yeah, you can add it right to this doc here, actually.
Okay.
It's in the chat channel now. You should be able to edit it. Yeah, it's weird.
Are you able to do the same thing, but like do like pipe it through JQ so it just gets formatted nicely? I can do the same thing actually. I got it.
And there's something also strange about the way it's displaying the uptime, so it's probably related. Okay.
So it seems like you're not in jail, but you're you don't have any voting power. So.
And then for some reason the uptime's not displaying correctly on Lumi.
Okay.
What version should I be running? Let me just double check that.
I think 0.04 it should say.
And have we confirmed that there's actually stake in the account, or was it all slash?
I mean, it could just be a UI bug in Looney, but yeah, I mean, what is Looney actually seeing that's causing this to happen? Is what I don't know.
Well, I mean, Rick's question's a good one. How many coins do you have in your account right now, Chris?
The account showing nothing.
So would this get solved just by sending you a bunch more
Here's
coins?
what I'm getting. I'm just going to put it into the same hackmd here.
What's the slashing parameter in Genesis? Do we know?
I need to check.
I'll take a look. While you do what you're doing, I can
Here's
take a
the
look.
tokens that you have here and the delegator shares. Here's this. You can just do this to get the slashing parameters.
It's only what, 5%, 1%? So that shouldn't have wiped out my balance. You know what? Maybe we should. Is there some place that I can open up an issue?
You can do that on the Cosmos SDK GitHub.
Yeah, or I can do it in yours if you want me to.
No. Do it in Cosmos SDK. This is Cosmos SDK, not
Okay.
This is not Regen Network related. We're just using their modules.
Right.
So when I query you, I mean, you have basically the same number of delegator shares, similar number of tokens as Chorus One does. So okay, what's different is the status field. So let me just check what that is.
What does unbonding height mean?
That's the height, the block height at which an unbonding can be completed, I believe. So you can't. There's a whole lag period before an unbonding takes place.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Well, actually, it kind of doesn't make sense because the next parameter is unbonding. So it says on the output from this thing keeps reloading. XRN CLI query staking validator. It has the delegate shares, it has the tokens, but it also has the unbonding height and unbonding time. And that seems to be separate from, I mean, it's not, the tabs are kind of lost or whatever, but was that saying that that was the earliest time that they could unbond? Or was that?
That's when they started.
That might have been when I actually when I might have gone down.
Did you try to
Yeah.
Chris?
What did you say, Aaron?
Did you try to
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Did you try to unbond?
No.
Sorry, Rick, I muted.
Well, have been unbonded. Yeah. No, I needed to. Yeah. Would you have been unbonded at 101 blocks? I mean, is that when all of your stake was removed?
Your bond status is
Yeah.
on.
So basically, yeah. I think so, Rick. Yeah. I look at the Terra documentation, docs.terra.money. That's actually pretty good as a proxy.
So I have the documentation here for, basically, I maybe I should just copy this into the chat here.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of, maybe I'll delete that, but you can see there the status that I don't want to, it's fine, okay. Your status is unbonded, and unbonding height is if unbonding height at which the validator has begun unbonding, and if unbonding minimum time for the validator to complete unbonding. So that means that you have started unbonding, and that you completed unbonding on, it says June 8th, right around, I guess, the beginning of the testnet. So what you can maybe do is try
redelegate, right?
Restaking.
Yeah, restake.
Yeah.
Try to create it, would that either be how would you?
Just
Oh, maybe I have to. Oh, no, that's weird.
Could you delegate to him?
Well, I mean, I think he needs to bond, so he needs to create a validator again. I think.
Self.
You send me some coins?
Yeah, I can send you some coins. Although you should have the coins there. I mean, so I can send you coins, but also there's the faucet that was created.
Joe's asking the same thing that Rick did around slashing taking below the minimum self bond, and then maybe that precipitated an unbonding where all the rest of the delegated stuff started unbonding.
Yeah.
So there's the faucet you can use. Should also link to the faucet. I'll just put this into Zoom because I'm getting a lot of just. All right, so you can get coins from that faucet.
But only like 50 at a time right now, right? Still? Or did they change that?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, when I query that, it looks like you still have tokens. So I don't know if it's possible for you with.
Well,
They're all unbonding.
They're all on, but they should have unbonded by now.
Not if it takes 21 days.
But it says the
22
unbond time was. When did we start this?
yeah, I'm seeing nothing. I just.
Yeah, we started the Genesis time is June 5th. So sort of it looks like it was 3 days, and that like at block 101s you started on bonding.
Regen. S1.
And on bonding time, let's convert. Yeah, I mean the unbonding time specified in Genesis is 3 days. So you're unbonded, and you have those tokens. Just need to figure out what to do once you're unbonded. That's the question. Why did you get unbonded? I have no idea, but we could look at block 101 and see what happened there.
Yeah, and I just tried to use the faucet and said success. I got a transaction hash, but I'm not seeing anything in my wallet.
Maybe check that transaction hash and see what.
Yeah.
So there's no transactions for that block. So yeah, you said you didn't issue transactions.
it makes sense that validator state changes don't result in transactions. It just means that when you're doing this sort of analysis, you have to somehow examine the state outside of the transactions, which is kind of annoying.
All right, so it looks like Joe is looking at it, and I think we should, see if he can help figure it out first. He's responding.
Yeah.
And then take it from there. And then if Joe can't help, then we escalate it, to Jack or somebody.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll keep an eye on the chat.
All right. Awesome. Well, I have another call coming up soon, and I want to just take a few minutes to do this documentation update before my next call. So are we good to wrap up now?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a bunch of work to do on our end. Aaron's updating some documentation. I'll work on the sort of like scheme for incentivized testnet, and I think that'll include retroactive points for participating in the genesis of this testnet as well, because then we can just sort of dig in and be working on the upgrade and whatnot moving forward. And then we'll reconvene on Tuesday next week and probably expect some chatter between now and then.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll post updates as soon as we have them.
Thanks again for the help. I appreciate it. I'll talk to everyone later. Bye-bye.
Welcome. Great. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.